All right, guys, we're back here on Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel, previewing the ACC SEC Challenge. We're talking about Duke and Florida. One of the best games on the non-conference schedule was my number one game when we ranked our SEC non-conference games this offseason. Max maybe lost a little bit of its luster with the Gators, a bit slow out of the gate here, but still a high-profile matchup between the defending national champions and one of the teams that many people expect to have a great chance to win the national championship this season. 6:30 p.m. Central start on ESPN. It is at Cameron Indoor there in Durham, North Carolina. We are presented by FanDuel, and right now, as we're recording this on Monday morning, Duke is an 8.5-point favorite at home against the Gators, over under at 156.5. Before we get into our thoughts on the game, remember, check out GameTimeSideKicks.com, officially licensed stainless steel drinkware. They have every SEC school. They have over 350 more universities as well. If you're a Duke fan, you can get some cups over there with our code SC16KIT. SC16KIT for 20% off over at Game Time Sidekicks. They got stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, shaker cups. They got it all. Use our code SC16KIT at GameTimeSidekicks.com. All right, Max, the champs, who we know have had their struggles. The Gators 5-2 on the year. Lost to Arizona. Great game night one. Disappointing loss to TCU last Thursday on Thanksgiving. Rebounded with a win against Providence. Meanwhile, we've seen Duke against some SEC teams thus far. Beat Texas by 15 to start the season. Had a fun game against Arkansas on Thanksgiving night there at the United Center. Won that one 80-71. The Blue Devils and Cam Boozer have been as advertised thus far. Florida, Max, has not. And will that be the story of this game?
Yeah, Blake, interesting line here. So I think it opened 8.5 and we're at 9.5 right now. But when you look at the VSiN betting splits, the early money, a lot of lopsided money on this Tuesday. It's a loaded Tuesday slate in college hoops. You've got a huge public side on Carolina. You got a huge public side on UConn, on Tennessee, on Michigan State, on Purdue. And then it comes to Florida Duke, and it's 54% to 46%, split right down the middle. It seems like people are in agreement with the odds here at 8.5, 9.5, that the defending national champs have not looked like the defending national champs, and that this being at Cameron Indoor, man, Duke could run away with this thing. However, it's not going to get pushed too far out. Right at 8-9, though, looks like that line's going to be sticking.
Yeah, well, look, if you're hopping in and you're a Duke fan, not watched the Gators play much this season, we can kind of give you a quick synopsis here. This has been a team that obviously still has a front court. I think that can get them to the Final Four. The backcourt has not been what we thought to this point, and that was even knowing that they were going to have to replace a lot of good players in Walter Clayton, Will Richard, Elijah Martin, Denzel Aberdeen. We still, Max, had some confidence that Florida would be able to figure it out and bring in Xavier Lee, Boogie Flan. We're like, okay, they're gonna figure it out. It's not gonna be last year. We all know that, but they're still gonna be okay. Well, so far, again, the numbers have been a little bit underwhelming, to say the least, I would say, Max. And when you're looking at a game like this, where you're going on the road, and I know all the attention is going to be on the front court of Duke and what Cam Boozer's going to do and all this other stuff. But to me, there is no bigger storyline in this game than the production Florida's going to get from two people, and that is Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan. Yep. We know the other guys got to play well. Understood. I think the front court will be fine. But this entire game may come down to what do you get from these two guys, because so far, Max, I think it's fair to say, it's been a little bit up and down at times, obviously more so with Lee than Flan.
Yeah, and isn't it kind of concerning that we've sort of come to expect about 3 threes from Irby Klapchar at this point? You know, in his production, the past 4 games, 3, 4, 2, 4 threes in each of those games, you kind of just come to expect that he's going to hit a few shots. And so at 6'1" against the length of this Duke team, that's not a given either. So 100%, the storyline is going to be the Florida front court against Boozer and Gugba in this Duke front court. But if Florida is gonna win this game, not only is that front court going to have to play at that Final Four level, but you're going to have the best game of the season so far from Xavier Lee, Boogie Fland, and Irby Klapchar if you're going to keep up with the offensive production from this Duke team. Because when you look at the analytics, that's been what is holding back Florida right now. The offensive efficiency right now on Torvik, when you take out preseason data, 64th in the country for Florida. It's been the defense has not been bad, but it's been the offensive efficiency that it just has not been there.
Well, Lee had his best game of the season against Providence. 20 points in 36 minutes, went 4 of 9 from 3. Seemed to have found his groove. And I think we said it. If this was just something where sometimes you just get into a huge slump, which he had been in, all it takes is one game sometimes to change your confidence in the right direction. The problem is you got to go from playing Providence to a road game against Duke, and that's a tough bounce back. Where now you have to keep that going in one of the toughest games you're going to play all season long. And so, yes, I think that's going to be interesting here. I think you need an aggressive Boogie Fland in this game. And I think that's, again, top priority for me. But if we move beyond that, I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, the front court matchup here is going to be fantastic because you've obviously got, what we know with Duke is just going to be such a dynamic front court and the problems they're going to present. But we also know that right now, and we talked about this too, we said with Florida and the bigs they had coming back, pretty much their entire front court rotation was back, and they could have the best front court in the country. Well, we mentioned this in a live show we did earlier today. It's not been a seamless transition in terms of playing Tommy H., Chenyolu, and Alex Condon together. And we've seen some of those so far where you just have some possessions where you're like, oh, man, they got to figure that out. Again, something else you've got to work through if you're Florida, going on the road to play Duke. Not the ideal scenario, but that's also been one of the most glaring things, I think, with the Gators thus far.
There's going to be there's two aspects of Florida's offense that have to be way better than what they've been all season. Turnover rate and 3-point percentage. They've been turning the ball over way too much. Everybody's been turning it over too much. And you can't be the 320th team in 3-point percentage and expect to go into Cameron Indoor and win games against a top 5 defense. You know what's crazy is this Duke team loses Sion James, loses Kaman Maluwash, loses Cooper Flagg, and their defense might be better than last year. The defense is incredible. I was watching Eric Fawcett, Florida Basketball Hour, his breakdown on this game, and the Duke, the length and how hard it is just to get inside, just to get a pass into the interior. They force you into a lot of contested threes. And so far, this has not been a Florida team that's been able to shoot over anybody.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be something certainly they're going to watch here. Is it simple? If you had to pick one player, you're like, hey, this is the key to Florida's game here. Is it simple as how well does Lee play? How well does Fland play? Or is there someone else you would choose?
I would choose more like one of the either Condon, Chenyolu, or Hanlockton. They've got to play above their defensive level. It's going to be tough because Boozer is just an absolute monster. And Hanlockton and Condon have a little bit of trouble with brute bigs. Look at Coapete and what they did. Look at what Awaka did. And these brute bigs rather than these tall, lengthy 7-footers, these low to the ground, put your shoulder into their chest kind of bigs like Boozer does and like Ngagba does. The Florida bigs is tough as they are at, trying to shoot over them, they do have that high center of gravity and can get digged out a little bit by these big, strong front court players. So someone, Condon, Rubin, or Hanlockton, is going to have to play well above their defensive level and offer some resistance to Boozer and Ngagba, because those are the two leading scorers. As good as the rest of the Duke squad is, the catalyst to that team offensively is the bigs. And Florida's going to have to play above their level a little bit around the rim.
I'll go with Condon because I think in 4 of the 6 games this season he's played in, remember he did not play against Providence, but he'll be back for this one. Yeah. I think is the full expectation. He's had at least three turnovers in 4 of the 6 games this year. Had the two turnover games against Arizona and Florida State. Had 3 apiece against TCU in the game they lost and Merrimack. I just think listen, I appreciate him, Max, as a Alex Condon fantasy aficionado. This is the ultimate game for me and Gogba on the other side with Duke, but he's the stat sheet, but he's had some performances that I think, you've not loved, especially in the one against TCU, right? Where I don't know that he had his best game. So I think he's a big one in this one. Because like you said, I think the aggressiveness, the physicality in this game, especially like some of the plays are going to be at the rim. If Condon gets in foul trouble or something like that, something else, he's fouled out in a couple games this season.
Yeah.
That's a huge game changer if that happens. So, yeah. All right, picks. You ready?
Yep. So, I've kind of got an interesting take on Duke. I kind of don't think they're as good as they are right now. When you think about like a Michigan or even Duke from last year, you're like, wow, just lights out, just incredible. You look at Duke's schedule so far: beat Texas in game 1 in the semi-home. For the first 20, 30 minutes of that was razor tight. It ended up being a 15-point win, but man, that was not the story of that game. You go to Kansas, or neutral game against Kansas, no Darren Peterson, end up winning by 12, trailed a little bit in the first half, but pretty much controlled that. That was probably their best result so far. Arkansas game on a neutral, don't cover the spread, was back and forth all game, down by 7 with under 10 minutes to go in the second half. They haven't been world beaters, and so I find myself wanting to fade Duke in a spot. I think they're slightly overrated. I do not think this is a spot. My pick is going to be Duke. But over these next 2 games, Florida, Michigan State, I think we see the national expectation on Duke take a slight step back. Nothing crazy, nothing big, but just coming off of last year's run, they just looked absolutely unbeatable. I don't think they're quite that team this year. I think they're slightly overrated right now. Picking them to win, but I think there's some cracks in the armor.
I said on our SEC basketball power rings this week that I am probably more down on Florida than most people are, and I think it's just based on my unwillingness or stubbornness to throw out the preseason expectations, which we always say we should throw out pretty quickly. I want to see more, right? And I don't think that's asking a lot from the defending national champions. I want to see more consistency from the backcourt especially, but it's not just that. I mean, again, there are other areas too where I'm just like, they got to be better there. Again, they've got to shoot the ball better. There's no question about that. I know Lee's numbers have just been so far in the opposite direction from what we expected that has brought the numbers down a bit. But I can't pick them to win this game because I'm going to pick Duke. They're the home team. They're an 8.5-point favorite or whatever over FanDuel right now. I'm going to pick the Blue Devils, and I am just fascinated to see what Florida team we get here because now it's like the script has flipped on the Gators, where they were the team that everybody's coming after. And even after game 1, they lose to Arizona. It didn't really change my mind very much after them, after one game. But since then, it's either the close call against Florida State, the loss to TCU. Yeah, I think it's one where you are now in the spot where you are the underdog. And you've kind of gotten piled on a bit here. In terms of hey, maybe this is a team that isn't even an SEC title contender or something like that. I'm not saying that just yet, but I think this is a huge prove-it game. Not saying you got to win if you're Florida, but you got to play well here because if you come out and get beat by double digits, I just think, again, we're going to really start to separate some of these teams in the ACC SEC Challenge. And I think Florida is one of the biggest ones because of the opportunity that is available to them playing Duke here on the road and knowing that I think you've still got a roster that can go out and win this game. But I find it hard to pick them in the spot. So
Todd Golden said after the Providence game going into it, they wanted to clean up 2 things: turnovers offensively and defending without fouling. And he said they went 1 for 2. Liked what he saw from the offense, but they fouled too much. And that has to be a 1-game fix. That's got to be fixed tomorrow, or you're not winning that game. Got to defend with the following.
I think Condon, like I said, to me is the most important player. If he gets in foul trouble or something early, I think they're in trouble. So we'll see. And that's not knocking the other guys. I just think for some of the faults that maybe we can have with Condon, he still is someone that does so many things that he's got to be on the court a lot, I think, for them to have a chance to win this game. So
I mean, come on. If you're a first team All SECer, if that's what you are, you're playing Cam Boozer. What do you got?
Yep.
This is where you got to show up.
Yep. And I mean, do we compare it to the Arizona game? What Koa Pete did? I mean, it's like
after we're gonna.
You had one star-studded performance. Like that's where again you want to see Florida have a good performance here. They're the underdog. If they don't win, then hey, it was expected. But they got to play well, and that's everybody. Like that's from Lee to Condon and so forth. Like I just think you want to see a great performance here if you're a Florida fan. There's no question about it. But big challenge. You guys leave us your score predictions in the comments. Who wins it? Duke, Florida. Give us your scores as always. And before we head out, remember we are presented by the Yearly Company as well. If you want to buy some fine jewelry, Nashville-based fine jewelry, you can do that with the Yearly Company. Solid 14-karat gold, natural gemstones, backed by a lifetime guarantee. Husbands shopping for the holiday season, you need to go to that size because you got to get the sizing kit for free from our friends at the Yearly Company. 100% off at checkout. Use the code SE16KIT, SE16KIT for a free sizing kit. Every bangle they have over there custom size, so you got to know that at the start. Head over to the Yearly Company. Check them out. 20% off. SE1, 100% off. What am I talking about, Max? It's 100% off.
Come on.
25% off over ROKFORM. We got so many percentages. We're giving the people so many great things. I get them all mixed up sometimes. ROKFORM, ROKFORM.com, the world's strongest magnetic phone case. Extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock, secure mounting. Use the code SEC25 for 25% off over at ROKFORM.com. All right. We appreciate you guys watching as always. Score predictions below. Subscribe, like, turn on your notifications, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon here at Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.